Strategist. How do you top your love for your cat? With a cascade of decadent savory gravy over a mouth-watering mousse pate. Fancy Feast gems. 2 gourmet pâtés in one convenient pack. Simply peel and plate to reveal a pyramid shape that makes eating delightful and pamper her with an experience as extraordinary as she is. Turn the everyday into the extraordinary with Fancy Feast gems.
Welcome to Her Extraordinary Life by Design, where we celebrate women who are shaping their lives one extraordinary day at a time. I'm your host, Leslie Gaudet, self-care coach for women who are ready to make self-care a priority to support them in life and business. Every week, I'll be speaking with inspiring women from various walks of life who will share their personal journeys and will discover how they have fearlessly carved their own paths as business owners, passionately pursuing their dreams and creating a meaningful impact on their communities. So let's get started. You ever have one of those mornings where you're already on before your feet even hit the floor, where you're thinking about the message you still haven't replied to from the day before, the conversation you replayed in your head all of last night, which was messing with your sleep, and that meeting that you're already bracing yourself for this morning because you can feel the tension before it even happens. And you tell yourself, it's fine. I'll keep it together. Just stay positive, stay professional. But somehow by mid-morning, the air feels heavy, your tone's a little sharper, your patience running a little thinner, and suddenly the people around you, they start calibrating to your state instead of meeting you in theirs. It's where you catch yourself thinking, why does it always feel like I'm the one holding it all together? And why do I always end up managing the room instead of just being in it? Here's the part we don't often realize. It's not just what you say. It's the energy you bring with you into every interaction, because your energy walks into the room long before you do. And yes, some days your energy feels grounded and calm, your conversations flow, your presence feels easy, but there's also other days where it's like everyone's reflecting your depletion right back at you. And you can't tell where your stress ends and where theirs begins. And I want you to hear this. It's not that your relationships are off. And it's not that you're doing anything wrong. What's happening is energetic because you're unconsciously setting the tone and everyone else is simply responding to it. We've somehow bought into the idea that connection is built solely through communication, through what you say. But true connection actually begins with alignment, with the energy that you bring before you even speak. Because again, your relationships, the people you interact with, they don't just respond to your words. They respond to your state of being when you speak them. And once you start noticing that energetic shift, you'll start to see that every interaction is a mirror, reflecting back the energy that you're leading with. And that's what we're going to dive into today. Hello, and welcome back to Extraordinary Life by Design podcast. I'm your host, Leslie Gaudet, and in today's episode, we're exploring the mirror effect, how your energy shapes every relationship that you're in. Not through effort or people-pleasing, but through awareness, the kind that helps you stay grounded, centered, and emotionally clear so that your connections reflect peace instead of pressure. Because resilience isn't built in recovery mode. It's revealed in how you actually show up daily. You put in those pieces into your life to help you to regulate your energy, to have a better use of your time, to have better interactions. And when you learn to pause, especially before you go into an interaction with someone, before you enter into a conversation, you stop to reset your energy instead of reacting from it, your relationships stop draining you and they start fueling you. So let's make this real just for a moment. I want you to picture this. It's late afternoon. You've wrapped a full day of back-to-back calls. Your brain's still processing a client conversation that ran long, and you're already thinking about tomorrow's priorities. You've got one last meeting before you can finally shut down for the day, and it's your team meeting, the one that's supposed to help everyone reconnect, debrief, and wrap the day. So you take a deep breath, you open the Zoom room, and you tell yourself, "Whew, okay, be present." Your body's present, but your energy hasn't caught up yet because your mind's still spinning with unfinished thoughts. So your tone's a little sharper than you mean it to be. Your patience is thinner than you realize. And before long, you feel the atmosphere shift. So the conversation starts to feel heavier than it should. Someone starts to pull back. Someone else gets really quiet. And you can't pinpoint what changed. You weren't upset when you entered the conversation. At least you didn't think you were upset. You didn't say anything wrong as far as you could assess in that split-second moment. But what you didn't realize is that your energy never had a chance to reset before you hit join meeting. And that tension that you've carried from the rest of your day is quietly spilling into the one space that was meant to feel collaborative and calm. And just like that, everyone starts responding to the energy you didn't even realize you were broadcasting. Now, imagine that same day. Okay, let's flip the script. Imagine that same day. Same workload, same responsibilities. But before you open up that final meeting, you pause for 3 minutes. You unclench your jaw. You take some slow, deep breaths. You let your shoulders drop. You give your nervous system a moment to arrive where your feet are, right? And then, and only then, you click join. You say the same words, but this time they land differently because your tone feels warmer. Your presence feels lighter. And that invisible tension that used to fill the room, well, it's gone. And so with that being gone, then your connections with your team actually feel more light, more engaged, more calm, right? That's the mirror effect. It's not about changing who you are. It's about noticing the energy that you bring with you so you can lead from presence instead of pressure, understanding that the way you show up invites others to meet you there. Okay, so here's what we're going to uncover today. First, we're going to look at why your internal energy sets the emotional temperature in every relationship you're in, whether that's with your team, your significant other, even your children. Because when you walk into a room carrying residue of your day, people can feel it, right? Even if you're smiling, even if you're saying all the right things. Your tone, your pace, your presence, they all communicate what your nervous system is still holding on to. Then we're going to talk about what happens when you don't reset before those moments, because there's an invisible loop that starts forming where your overcapacity gets mirrored back to you through other people. So they start reacting to your tension, you start reacting to theirs, and before you know it, everyone's feeding off the same drained energy, wondering why connection suddenly feels like work. And finally, we'll walk through how micro resets and energetic boundaries can shift that dynamic completely, how they can help you bring calm, not carryover into every interaction. So instead of managing other people's emotions, you start regulating your own energy first. And that's when connection begins to feel natural again. Because the truth is, when you learn to protect your energy before you connect, you don't have to work to keep your relationships healthy. They naturally start reflecting the calm, clarity, and alignment you're already living from. So first, let's start with the myth that we as high-achieving women can often carry with us and believe about our relationships. And it's this, that the more you communicate, the better things get. Meaning, you think if you just explain yourself clearly enough, they'll understand where you're coming from. That if you just stay positive, manage your tone, choose your words carefully, you'll keep the peace. And when that doesn't seem to land, that doesn't work, you try harder, softening your delivery, offering more context, making sure no one feels misunderstood. And somehow, even with all of that effort, something still feels off. The conversation doesn't flow, the connection feels strained, and afterwards you're left wondering, what am I missing? I said all the right things, didn't I? Here's a truth we often don't realize. It's not about saying more. It's about holding your energy differently. It's not just what you say or how you even say it. It's the energy that carries your words. Because when your system's in survival mode, when you've been on all day and haven't had a chance to reset, even genuine connection can start to feel like one more thing to manage. Even reassurance can carry an undertone of tension. You see, you can't communicate calm if your energy is anything but calm, right? And you can't speak peace if your body's still buzzing from the last 12 hours of doing, of managing and holding everything together. And that's why I think most high performing women equate emotional intelligence with emotional control, thinking that if they can just stay steady, if they can keep it together and not let things get to them, they'll keep the peace, they'll keep things moving. But emotional control and emotional regulation are not the same thing because control tightens, regulation softens. Control holds the energy in while regulation moves it through. And when you don't give your energy room to move, to release, to ground, to reset, it builds up. And so the next person you talk to feels that build up, even if you've never said a word. And so then what feels like staying calm on the outside is often your system quietly signaling, I can't take on one more thing. I am going to explode. And that's not connection, that's containment. And this is where the mirror effect begins, where your unprocessed energy becomes the tone of the room, managing the tone of the room, and everyone starts responding to the emotion you didn't have time to release. So now that we've talked about the myth that relationships only get better when you communicate more, explain more, or try harder to stay positive, let's talk about what that belief is actually costing you. Because while holding it together looks like emotional maturity on the surface, underneath, it's what's quietly draining the very energy that allows you to connect in the first place. See, every time you walk into a conversation without resetting your energy first, you bring the residue of your day with you. The fatigue, the frustration, the mental tabs that are still open in your mind. And that energy doesn't just stay in you, it leaks out. It comes out as the clipped tone that you didn't mean to use, as the quick I'm fine that sounds more like a wall than reassurance, as the quiet withdrawal that makes people around you wonder if they did something wrong. And none of it's intentional. You're not angry at them. You're not resentful of them. You're just tired. But that tired energy starts shaping your relationships more than your words do because you start performing presence instead of living it. You're physically in the room, but mentally you're still finishing an email, you're replaying a conversation, or you're bracing for what's next. And you're nodding, you're responding, you're smiling, but inside you're running triage on a to-do list that no one else can see. And the people who love you, they can feel the gap between your words and your energy, even if they can't name it. So they start to adjust too. They tread lighter, they withhold what they want to say, they mirror back your distance, and suddenly connection starts to feel like effort, like something you have to schedule instead of something that just happens naturally. And at first it's subtle. A dinner where conversation feels a little out of sync, a team meeting where your feedback ends flat, a friend check-in that feels more like an obligation than a recharge. And over time, that disconnect compounds because when you spend too long managing energy instead of resetting it, your nervous system forgets what safety feels like in connection. You start equating calm with silence, not presence, and before you know it, you're confusing peace with distance. The deeper cost is this. You begin to feel unseen, not because people aren't trying to see you, but because you're not fully there to be seen. Your relationships start reflecting the energy you've been running on, guarded, composed, and controlled, instead of the energy you actually crave, which is to be open, grounded, and connected. And when that becomes the norm, something else happens because you stop letting yourself receive energy altogether. Giving feels safer than being seen in your exhaustion. And that's how overfunctioning becomes the love language of high-achieving women. So here's what I want you to hear. And I want you to lean in for this. When you carry unprocessed energy into your relationships, you are not protecting peace. You're postponing being present. And that's the hidden cost of skipping your resets. The cost isn't just your energy, it's the intimacy, the ease, the emotional safety that only exists when your nervous system feels clear enough to connect. And the shift from managing connection to experiencing connection, is when you stop trying to communicate your calm and you start learning to embody it. Because the people who love you don't need you to say more. They just need to feel that you're actually there. So let's zoom out for a moment because this is where everything has the potential to change. You already know what it feels like to carry the day with you, to walk from one conversation to the next without really landing in any of them, to want peace, but unintentionally project pressure, to crave connection, but feel like everyone's waiting for you to set the tone before they exhale. And you've been in that loop long enough to know that it doesn't work, right? So you don't need another communication strategy or an emotional script. You need a system for your energy because your energy is what people hear, even when you're silent. And that's where the real shift can happen. You see, resilience in relationships doesn't start with what you say. It starts with what you center, like where you're centered. And what I mean by that is what you choose to come back to emotionally, mentally, and energetically before you engage with anyone else. It's the internal place you return to when the world pulls on your attention, when the noise gets really loud, or when other people's emotions start to rise and feeling like it's going to stick to you. Because your energy has the potential to set the emotional temperature of every interaction that you walk into. When your system is tense, everyone can feel it. When your system is calm, everyone can soften from that, right? And when you learn to regulate your energy before you connect, your relationships start reflecting that same steadiness back to you. So let's talk about what that actually looks like. Resilience isn't something you practice after a tough day, right? I've talked about resilience. Like if you listened last week, resilience is not something that after you get into this space, that it's like a recovery tool. It's not. It's something that you build in. It's something that you design into your day. And I've said that, right? It's built through awareness, through rhythm and micro moments of recalibration. It's pausing before you walk into a meeting and asking yourself, what energy do I want to bring to this conversation? It's taking a breath before answering your partner's question after a long day. And it's not because you need to think, but because you need to arrive so that you can respond from that present state, right? Not from being exhausted. It's giving yourself 60 seconds, if that's all you have, to come home to yourself before you come home to anyone else, okay? Because that moment, that pause, is what resets your system. It's the invisible act of leadership, self-leadership, that shifts your relationships from reacting to your energy, right? To relaxing into your presence and truly connecting. And when you start doing that consistently, something powerful happens. You begin to notice that calm is contagious too, right? You start to see your partner's tone soften because yours did first. You start to feel your team take a breath because you did before speaking. You start to realize that peace isn't passive, it's influential. Because when your energy is clear, your words land softer and your relationships feel safer. And people stop responding to your depletion and they start resonating with your groundedness. And here's what's also important to understand. Energetic awareness isn't fluffy. It's not about being in that Zen space. It's the nervous system equivalent of keeping your instrument tuned, right? You can't play in harmony with anyone else. Like, for example, if you are a singer, you can't sing in harmony with everyone else if you're out of tune with yourself, right? If you are out of tune, you're not going to be able to sing in harmony with everyone else, which means that you can't lead your team into calm when you're still vibrating from chaos. And you can't create safety for others in your life when your operating system is still in defense mode. You see, energetic mastery is relational mastery. It's the bridge between the woman who's performing presence and the woman who's living it. So what does that look like in practice? I can tell you it is much simpler than you think. It might look like this. Before your next conversation, whether it's with a client, your partner, or even your children, take one deliberate minute to reset. Close your eyes, feel your feet touch the floor, Let your shoulders drop and exhale what doesn't belong in that next moment so that you reclaim ownership of your energy before you share it. That's the difference between reacting and leading, between carrying your day into your relationships and consciously creating the atmosphere you want them to reflect. Because the more you practice resetting before connecting, the more natural it becomes. Your nervous system learns that peace is safe. Your body remembers that presence doesn't cost you energy, it creates it. And your relationships begin to mirror back the same steadiness you've anchored within yourself. That's resilience by design. Not resilience built from bouncing back, but resilience built from never leaving yourself behind. You see, every relationship you have, whether it's personal or professional, is a reflection of your internal regulating system, okay? Of your internal operating system, if you will. When you are grounded, you don't absorb other people's energy. You guide it. And yes, you have that ability to do that, right? Because you, as I said, your energy enters before you do. When you're centered, you don't have to prove you're calm. People can feel it. And when you're steady, you naturally create emotional safety because your energy says it's okay to relax here. That's the power of energetic awareness. It's not control. It's the alignment between what you say and how you feel. And that's the kind of leadership, the kind of love that doesn't drain you. It restores you. So the next time you walk into a room, any room, I want you to remember this. Your presence is the prelude. Your energy is the message before the words. And your calm is the invitation that tells others it's safe to be real here. That's what it means to lead your relationships through energy, not effort. And that's what it means to embody resilience by design. So let's be honest. You don't want another relationship tip that tells you to listen better, communicate more clearly, or stay positive, do you? You've probably already tried all of that. You've most likely read the books, you've done the work, you've practiced patience, and yet there are still days when you walk into a room and can feel your energy shift, not because of what's said, but because of what's unspoken. Those invisible undercurrents that make you tighten your shoulders, soften your tone, and tell yourself, just keep calm. When what you actually want isn't to manage every conversation, but to influence the atmosphere before a single word is spoken, to feel the room adjust to your steadiness, not your stress. You want to be able to walk into your home at the end of the day and feel like you arrived in your place of Zen, your safe space, not like you're still half in your inbox, half in your head, performing presence, but not actually living in it. You want to sit at the dinner table with your family and feel the laughter, not just hear it while your brain is running through what's next. And you want to have real conversations with the people you love, the kind that don't require effort because your energy is already aligned. What you crave is emotional freedom, the kind that comes from knowing that your energy is grounded no matter what's happening around you, so that you can wake up knowing that being grounded is your greatest strength. You want to feel steady even when things shift, to trust that you can respond with clarity instead of react from overload, to lead your business, your relationships, and your life without leaking your energy into things that don't deserve it, to be able to show it fully where it matters, right? And release the need to hold everything together everywhere else. Because deep down, you're not looking for control. You just want to feel like the piece you've been working on inside finally shows up in how you move through the world. And that's what energetic mastery can give you. It's connection that doesn't cost you your peace. It's leadership that doesn't drain you. It's love that fuels you instead of emptying you so that you're not managing your relationships, you're experiencing them, feeling grounded and seen and supported, not because everyone around you changed, but because you did, because you stepped into the version of you that you want to live, that you want to mirror out to the world. And when you learn to reset your energy before you connect, you actually stop reacting to the world and you start shaping it. You become the steady heartbeat in every room you walk into. And that's what true resilience in relationships can look like. Not just surviving connection, but designing it. So let's turn the lens back to you again and think about the last few days. the meetings, the messages, the conversations that filled your calendar. How many of those moments did you walk into already carrying the residue of the one before it? How often did you feel your patience thinning or your tone tightening, even though you told yourself you were fine? And be honest. Who feels your overcapacity the most when you're depleted? Your partner, your team, your kids? The people closest to you can usually sense what you haven't had time to process because your energy is still speaking for you when your words say nothing's wrong. And so what would change if before giving your energy to anyone else today, if you gave yourself the first reset? Before you step into the next meeting, before you open that message, before you walk into the next room? What if you took just 2 minutes to check in with your energy, to notice, am I calm or am I stressed? Am I leading with presence or am I carrying pressure? And what version of me is about to walk into this next space? And how do I want to walk into this space? Because this is where energetic leadership begins, in noticing sooner the energy that you bring. When you build that awareness, you stop letting the leftover energy of one moment spill into the next, and you create separation, a clean handoff between what just happened and what's about to. And that's how connection becomes lighter again. That's how your relationships start to feel more natural and less managed. So here's my invitation for you this week. Before your next interaction, whether it's with your partner, your team, your kids, anyone you care about, try a simple 2-minute energy check-in. Close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, notice what your body's saying before your mouth does. And instead of matching the energy around you, decide what energy you want to bring to the table, and then watch what shifts. Because when your energy arrives before your words do, the room doesn't just feel different, it becomes different. So if this conversation has you realize that you've been walking into rooms carrying energy you never meant to share, that you've been giving from depletion instead of alignment, and you're ready for connection to feel lighter again, then I want you to know something. It doesn't have to keep feeling this way. Because peace, clarity, and connection aren't things you find once everything slows down. They're things you design into the way you lead, love, and live. And this is exactly the work we do inside the Aligned Self-Mastery experience. This is what we create together. Energetic systems designed to help you protect your peace and deepen your relationships, because when you master your energy, you no longer have to manage everyone else's emotions, right? You learn how to regulate your nervous system so that your calm becomes your default, not something you have to chase once the chaos ends. You learn how to enter every conversation clear and grounded so that connection flows instead of feeling forced. We work through the frameworks that help you release the habit of overfunctioning in relationships, the subtle ways you take on other people's emotions or over-explain yourself just to keep the peace. And instead, you learn to lead with steady, confident energy that naturally invites others to do the same. Because here's what I know. When your energy is aligned, your relationships begin to reflect that alignment back to you. You stop absorbing the room and you start shaping it. You stop explaining yourself and you start embodying your calm. And you stop feeling responsible for everyone else's emotional state, and you start to trust that your steadiness can set the tone. That's what mirrored relationships are all about. Letting your connection come from genuine energy, not from pressure to hold it all together. So if you've been noticing that you're spending way too much energy regulating other people's emotions, carrying conversations longer than you should, or feeling like peace only exists when everyone else is calm, this is your reminder. It's time to design a different way. And if that's the shift you've been craving, the way to lead, love, and connect without losing your peace, then the next step is to book a Yes Reset strategy call with me. And on that call, we'll look at where your energy is leaking, how emotional carryover is shaping your relationships, and what specific systems you can design to restore calm, clarity, and connection that lasts. And if it feels aligned, we'll explore whether joining the Aligned Self-Mastery experience is your next step. You can find the link to apply for your call in the show notes. Truth is, you don't have to fix your relationships. You just have to master your energy, and everything else will begin to mirror that back. So before you move into the rest of your week, I want you to take this with you. Every moment you choose to pause before responding, to breathe before absorbing, to reset before re-entering the room, you're reminding your nervous system that connection doesn't have to cost you your clarity nor your peace of mind. Because your calm is communication. It tells others it's safe to be at ease here. And when you lead from that energy, you stop matching the noise around you and you start setting the tone for everything that follows. So as you move through your week, practice entering your next conversation with intention instead of tension. Before you open your laptop, take a breath. Before you speak, take a breath and anchor yourself and let your energy settle. And before you engage, ask yourself, what energy am I bringing into the room, into the conversation? Because every time you do this, you're not just changing a moment, you're redesigning the emotional rhythm of your day, of your relationships. And that's what energetic mastery looks like in real life. Thanks for tuning in today. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep believing, and keep designing your extraordinary life one day at a time.
Thank you for joining me on Her Extraordinary Life by Design. I hope you've been inspired and empowered by the incredible stories shared on this show. If you enjoyed this episode and the conversations we've had, I would greatly appreciate if you could take a moment to leave a review. Your feedback and support mean the world to me, and it will help others discover the podcast and join our empowering community. Remember to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Together, we can continue to learn from these amazing women, uncover their extraordinary journeys, and be motivated to create our own lives by design. Thank you again for tuning in. Until next time, stay empowered and keep shaping your extraordinary life one day at a time.
You deserve better healthcare, and so do we all. Medicine in America is a podcast that shares real stories of patients and doctors reshaping the future, because the revolution in care isn't coming, it's already here. Real stories, real change, a better future for healthcare.
Electricast. Electricast.
Welcome to the Candle Power Hour. Come with us backstage behind the scenes of show business spanning over 4 decades and bringing you the experiences that can only be told by the people who were there.
Our guests are from the A-list, the F-list, and everyone in between. Get set for some of the most insane, hilarious, and inspiring stories you will ever hear.
I'm Mercury.
And I'm Diego.
Your host for the Candle Power Hour.